Kids coming up and they're like, मेरे को guitar चाहिए. Then I sometimes ask them, guitar क्यों? सितार नहीं अच्छा लगता है? कहते नहीं. Is that guitar क्यों अच्छा लगता है? कहते I don't know. Western culture is so like fancied over here that we don't even have like a good reason to justify why do we like guitar. No, classical music makes me look cool. हाँ दरवाजा खोल दो मेरे में हाथ में मेहंदी लगी है. So I'm actually one of those people. From Jhuta I am a sweet boy now. Am I still going to be a sitarist? I don't know. Do I need to get a real job? I don't know. And he turned to me, he was like, bache, like, I don't know how much life I have left, but whatever it is, whatever I have, please take it from me as soon as possible. Adi Shankara, Shashi Shekhara, Adi Shankara, Shashi Shekhara.
Hi Rishab, welcome to AfterHours Season 4, powered by Pass. We are so excited to have you today. I want to start by saying that I'm very lucky because we're actually friends. I'm sitting across and having a conversation with one of my friends on camera, so I'm very excited.
This is actually one of the first podcasts that I've been to, and the reason why I agreed to it because we were buddies.
Yeah.
So excited to be here as well.
I want to start from the beginning, and we know each other since COVID.
Yeah. 2020.
And 2020. And I remember I saw a reel of you playing Zara Zara. And pehle maine suna, and then I was just like, okay, wait, need to listen to it again. It's really nice. And I think that's when I shared it on my story, and that's how we got talking. And then we actually you did something for All About Eve also back, and then you played Ori Chiraiya,
which was your request.
Yes, it was my request. I love that song, and you played it
song.
So well. So this is like a full circle moment.
Wow.
Of 4 years.
Damn.
Like we started with All About Eve, and now this is
coming back to All About Eve.
Yeah, coming back to All About Eve.
It was All About Eve then.
No, but I'm so proud of the journey that you've had. I'm so proud of you because I know that you were working extensively through COVID, and you've been working like on your craft pretty much since you were very, very young. And I think that the success and the popularity that you enjoy today is very well deserved. I don't think it's overnight at all. I think it's years of like just you constantly working at it. How are you feeling today?
I feel blessed, very blessed. Definitely, when, as they say, Bhagwan deta hai, chappar phad ke deta hai, So that's how I feel, there's a lot of abundance, there's a lot of attention. And I've seen that throughout my life. When I started learning from my Guruji, and then I went for a few TV shows, that popularity comes up. And then it sort of comes down also, whatever goes up has to come down. And that has happened multiple times in my life. But this is something that people have seen, like my body of work, that I've been around. Like, it's not just like, as you said, overnight success. There's years of hard work, consistency, and good work coming from a good place that has resulted to today. And I'm very grateful to Mahadev for that.
There's a video, and I just want to say कि मेरा मतलब YouTube और Instagram तो I think is owned by you ऐसे मुझे लग रहा है, क्योंकि मैं एक दिन नहीं ऐसा जा रहा है अब जिसमें something of yours is not cropping up.
I'm sorry.
And I was like, I know he's good. Yeah. Like I already listened to him on Spotify and all
I was trying to convince you.
But I was sold many years ago. So,
No, you want to know the day ones, for sure.
So, there's a video of you, like a little kid, as you said, you've been playing now for a while.
Yeah.
And I saw it, I think, on YouTube, where it's either a talent show or something like that, where
It
you
was
performing.
Hindustan Ki Hunar I think. Sonali Bendre and Terence Lewis, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you have played, even for that age, phenomenally. And I can see the judges like visibly in awe even then. And they ask you why the sitar. So now I'm going to ask you again. What made you so attracted to the sitar?
See, I used to be a guitarist in school. That's why they asked that question, because the video clip is out of a little, I mean, it doesn't give you enough context, but like I moved from guitar to sitar. So obviously I picked up the guitar to impress more women, right? Because it was cool, right?
When you were 8, you wanted to impress women?
Of course.
Always.
Come on. I want attention. But no, I'm just kidding. But like, it was just cool, you know. I sit at my store in Gold Market and I see, you know, kids coming up and they're like, "Meko guitar chahiye." Then I sometimes ask them, you know, guitar kyun? Sitar nahi acha lagta? Kehte nahi. Is that guitar kyun acha lagta hai? Kehte, I don't know. So it's just like, you know, how, you know,
I think it's just a cultural thing.
It's just like Western culture is so like fancied over here that, you know, we don't even have like a good reason to justify why do we like guitar, you know? And I think I was a victim to that also. And I was playing it, and I was actually playing pretty decently well. I was playing bar chords on there, and any song you would tell me, I would be able to play on the guitar. And then sitars were always around, but it was a very sacred thing. And when I heard a sitar, and I was just like, wow. And especially, I mean, it's a longer story. We can talk about that later. But, you know, when I held the sitar for the first time, and I immediately could play a few songs, and it felt so easy, especially because of my dad, how he built that instrument also. So credit goes to him. But it was so easy to transition from the guitar to the sitar. That really opened like a huge door for me. And, you know, going between the notes, as I said, as the 11-year-old me said that, you know, going between the notes, like mean, you know, you can bend from one fret, like 5 notes, was just like game changing. Because like if you want to do that, you can't do that on the guitar without like strumming again and again. So one stroke, you can play that on the sitar. So all of these things, and the resonance of like, once you plug the main string, there are 5 other strings that ring along with it. So it's like a natural reverb that is created also. So there's like this larger than life sound. And yeah, I mean, all these things just like, you know, kept like pulling me to the instrument. So yeah, that's why I picked up.
It's a hard instrument to play, but
it's a very hard instrument to play.
It is.
It requires a lot of dedication and time, and it hurts a little bit in the beginning. And once your fingers are callous, you don't feel too much, but it's a whole body experience. It's not just like your fingers, but like you have to sit in the posture. Your shoulders get worked, your forearms get worked. So it's a full body. It's like a workout.
I would imagine so. Because, you know, I learned Indian classical at Gandhar Mahavidyalaya. So I almost grew up in the corridors where, you know, people were either playing the sitar or the tabla. And for me, that's, I think, the most magical experience that I had in my childhood. Because again, while everyone else was kind of more interested in like, you know, Western music, pretty much since the age of like 8 or 9, for almost 8 years, this is all I kind of saw around me. And I thought it was just incredible. So my affinity to it is very old. Which is why, you know, I just feel I just hope it doesn't become a lost art.
I won't let it. Don't worry.
And you know, that's what I find so interesting, that I feel like you have made somehow classical music look really cool.
No,
how have you done
classical music makes me look cool.
That is true. But tell me something. How did you think of, because, you know, if I look at you, you are like this like young guy who dresses like, you know, very young, and it's not like just the kurta pajama kind of look. Of course, you know, you wear, even the outfits that are Indian that you wear at your shows, they're very like different. And then it's like the henna tats, but also like the studs, but also like, you know, how have you come about this? Is it strategic? Is it instinctive? Is it natural?
No, I wouldn't call it strategic, but it's just a reflection of me. You know, I'm not a person who listens to classical music 24/7. I listen to a lot of hip hop. I grew up listening to rock. I listen to everything. Like I'm really into jazz fusion now. So I've been like ever since I was 17. I've lived in New York. So it's almost going to be like 10 years next year that I've been in New York. So although like I have all these things around me, I'm still like very grounded in my culture and my tradition. But also that translates to how I dress also, because you know I have that hip hop energy also, which affects my music, and you can see that energy in my when I play my classical also. Not altering and changing the rag or you know the purity of the music, but also just adding a little bit of me in there. So all these things. The story about the henna tats are I mean, I like tattoos how they look, but I don't like the idea of the permanence. And also you can't donate blood, like you know it goes into your bloodstream and all of that. So there's a lot of things that you know the tattoo does to you. And also I like having different designs for every show. So I was like, how can I do that? So I was looking at this I was sitting down with my mehendi designer in London, and then he was telling me there's this black material called Jaguar, which is sort of like a mehendi, but it stains everywhere. Like if I was here, so it would stain your couch a little bit. So I tried that for 1-2 times, but that didn't work. Then I was like, why don't I? Because I was also on the edge about like, should I do mehendi or not? Because it's
big. Our conditioning is too strong, and then you don't see men do it. Yeah.
Let's just say it's girly. Yeah. But I was like, you know, it's our culture, and you know, and this is organic, something that you're putting on your skin. You know,
all the Maharajas and all used to put henna.
Exactly. Then I started doing more research. You know, that's what awareness is. So I started doing more research, and I found out, you know, it has good, like medicinal properties also. And I was like, yeah, let's just break the stereotype. And even my mom and dad were like, you know, kya mehendi laga rahe haath mein? And nowadays I'm like, हाँ दरवाजा खोल दो मेरे हाथ में मेहंदी लगी है. So I'm actually one of those people. But yeah, and you know, this is also like I've just like seen rappers do it. Like I have diamonds in my teeth also.
I can see this is a new development. ये पहले नहीं था.
ये पहले नहीं था. Yeah. So I just like, it's all part of Shringar. You know, just dressing yourself up. You dress up well, you feel good, you play good, and life's good. So it's all part of.
Also increases the female fan base.
Really? I know, we'll find out.
You don't don't just even pretend that you don't know at this point in time.
I know, but I didn't know it enhances female fan bases.
Of course.
There are a lot of like...
Because everybody's opinion, like, he's like the in touch with his femininity kind of guy.
Yeah, definitely.
He talks about mental health. Yeah. He's open to wearing henna. So he's that guy.
Yeah.
You appease to the masses.
Really? Oh. Never looked at it.
इतना झूठा इंसान है ये. मैं एक कहानी बताती हूँ आपको. हम डिनर पे बैठे हुए थे. I don't even know if you remember. When we had met in Mehrauli. हाँ, ठीक है. So we were sitting for dinner, and I think that time also some show or something only you had done, or you were in town for the tour or something like that. And while we were sitting, I think you were getting like these really crazy texts from some female fan of yours.
I remember this.
Yeah. So that is the moment I realized, because see, up until now I had seen you on Instagram or seen people admire your work. Yeah. I was like, dude, this guy has like a crazy fan following. Like crazy in like inverted commas crazy.
I don't know what they see.
How are you handling it?
I try to respond to them as much as I can. Some are really heartfelt messages about, you know...
वो वाले तो कोई heartfelt नहीं थे जो मैं पढ़ रही थी.
Yeah, those are different. But I'm talking about like the long paragraphs that I get and how I've helped their mental health and cope with a loss in their life and all of that. So I try to respond to them as much as I can. But sometimes it does get out of hand, you know, especially if a video is going viral. It's hard to, you know, respond to everyone. But yeah, I'm very grateful and very, all of this, you know, like it's sometimes overwhelming. But I remember to stay grounded and, you know, just...
You know, I will give you that credit. You're actually a very sweet boy.
Yeah.
Having known you, you're not...
From Jhuta, I'm a sweet boy now.
But you're not because Jhuta bhi bolde to appear humble. But
no,
you're a sweet boy. You're a very sweet boy. You're very nice to your parents from what I've seen.
Yeah.
And you never like have any air about yourself. At least I have not seen it at all. And I really appreciate that about you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Tell me something. When Abhi, you mentioned, somebody talking to you about a loss in their family or their mental health.
Yeah.
I know you've spoken about it in, sort of your shows when you do them. How did Sitar for mental health start? Like, tell me your journey over the last 4 years, because I would imagine कि पिछले 4 साल में your prominence, of course, on the internet has increased. Of course, you were playing उससे बहुत पहले से.
Yeah.
But कैसे शुरू हुआ ये सब?
See, Sitar for mental health has been the biggest blessing in my life. I would tell you that. And I mean, how it started was pretty unfortunate, but like there's some silver lining of my grandfather passing and I getting this this energy to start something new in his memory. So it all started in 2020 when I lost my grandfather in September, and I was very close to him. He was like my third parent. Like I was closer to him than my own parents. We would talk about everything from women to like he would give us like sex education. He was like my best friend. We would talk about music. We would so he used to live in Paschim Bihar, and he would come specially to Green Park to my house so he could listen to music because he didn't have access to music at that time. And then he would travel all the way and he was like, yaar, wala gana suna de, but man kar raha tha. So that's how crazy he was for music. And that's why we,
bonded.
Yeah, there were multiple things that we bonded on. And when I lost him, even though we saw it coming because he was 88, but no matter how much mental prep you can do, when it happens, it just like brings you down. So I lost Nanu, and it didn't hit me for a while, but like it hit me, after New Year's, and I was in depression. I was anyways dealing with a lot of anxiety because of COVID and all the concerts getting cancelled, and I didn't know like what the future is going to look like. Am I still going to be a sitarist? I don't know. Do I need to get a real job? I don't know. So I was really on the edge, and when we lost him, I was completely broken. Like didn't leave my room. I was eating inside my room, just with my laptop, completely being unhealthy. And after that, there was this platform that was booming around that time, Clubhouse. So I was, often go on there and just like talk to strangers because there was nothing to do.
I think हम सबने Clubhouse join करा था उस time पे.
Yeah, everyone was on Clubhouse. There was a time everyone was on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
And then I made some friends, and I have to really give credit to those friends that they educated me about mental health, and I told them this has happened to me, and I'm supposed to be a musician, but I don't practice. I've left Sitar because I don't feel like doing anything. And then they told me about therapy, this and that, and I started doing my research also. I started making phone calls the next day, trying to find a therapist around my area, but everyone was booked for the next 2 months. And I was like, I can't go on for like 2 more months of this.
Yeah.
And then I started looking for psychiatrists. I didn't know like, what
the
psychiatrists
difference?
do. Yeah, I had no idea. So I just booked an appointment. They were available like end of the week. I was like, okay, let's do it. And it was an Indian doctor also. I was like, okay, I'll be a little more comfortable. And I went there and they were like, gave me these big forms like, oh, schizophrenia, no, this, and that. And I was like, wow, this is like some serious stuff. And I don't think I'm going through one of these symptoms. And then when I went to saw him, and then I started talking as if it was like a therapy session. And then he was like, Rishab, I'm a psychiatrist. My main job is to prescribe medication. And I was like, oh. But he's like, I'm happy. Then I explained to him, the situation, and, I'm not being able to find a therapist. And he's like, yeah, you need talk therapy. I can give you some medication, but I would suggest not. No, I was like, I want to be more holistic and not, have any medication as of yet. So he's like, just take some talk therapy and I can prescribe you that and refer you to some people. But till you find that someone, I can talk to you because we are trained to be, therapists. And that's how I started. And then I started feeling better. And he taught me about coping mechanisms. For some people, it's like working out, running, drawing. And I told him that I'm a musician. So he's like, why don't you go back to your practice? And then I started playing again. And the moment I held the sitar, I was like, where were you? Like, just I forgot like what a sitar sounded like. And then I started going on Clubhouse and just playing my heart out, just going live on Clubhouse. No matter how many people are there, 4, 5, I didn't care. I just, it was for me. It was nothing else. But I just wanted someone to be there, just like sitting. Because how much you can play in front of a mirror, right? I was going crazy. So I started, and I would see like 4 people joining in. Next day I would say 5. And it just kept on multiplying. And there was this one day, there were like 4,000 people listening to me.
Oh, wow.
Just in my music room, 4,000 people. And Clubhouse had a limit that it cannot cross 4,000 or 5,000 people. And I think we hit that limit. And then I was like, wow, there's potential here. And it wasn't just music. I would also talk about mental health, losing my grandfather. And I would invite people on stage and they would share, someone losing their mother, their father. And it was like a safe space that we created where people can come and be vulnerable. And then I started naming it Sitar for mental health because it was Sitar for mental health.
I remember watching one of your lives and people actually in comments would share their experiences as well through that phase. So clearly everyone was, going through a rough time, and, you in your own way, I think helped yourself and others.
Exactly.
It's so magical.
And after each and every session, I would receive these long DMs of appreciation, which sort of kept me going.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I started this for a very selfish reason because it was helping me feel better. But now there's like a whole community that is looking forward to this. So I have to keep going. I can't just stop at this point. And then I moved to Instagram and started doing live on Instagram and Clubhouse. So we can, people can also have like a video reference to whatever is being played. And then, Sitar for mental health, then we started touring. For 4 years we've been touring, and now we have 2 million.
I have been to all the Delhi shows. I want to say.
Yeah, she has been to all the Delhi shows. Wow.
I remember the first time you played in Delhi, at least the first one I attended was a performance you did at Quorum. उससे पहले I think हम Quorum पे मिले थे और उसके बाद I think एक हफ्ते बाद you had your show.
Yes.
And I remember I got my parents, my friends, my nani. Because, I thought my dad also used to play the sitar.
Correct.
Back in the day. My mom is also a singer. And they're all such enthusiasts, and they had like the best time ever.
Yeah.
It was also very intimate, nice setting. Like, it was amazing.
And in the recordings, your dad is singing, and he was sitting right in front of the camera. And his head is like moving at the right places. And he knows कि कहाँ वाह करनी है, कहाँ समा रहा है, कहाँ ताल, मतलब, everything he was enjoying the most. So it's there on camera, like, where
love it.
His appreciation and his knowledge. You can see because, there are rustics who are like connoisseurs of music. And we always seek, who's the connoisseur. And then once we find that person, we would look at them and play.
Yeah.
Because that's like it's like speaking the same language and that person is understanding that language. So your dad was that person on that show.
Yeah, he had the best time, and I think we've all been listening to music since. And I think what we've loved is, genuinely, I think one of the things, of course, that I remember seeing in your bio was that last disciple of Pandit Ravi Shankar. And of course, we've really appreciated Panditji's music, right? He's a legend.
Yeah, rest in peace.
How did you become his student, and how are you the last disciple? Tell me like the story of how it started.
So my father, Sanjay Rikhiram, so after my grandfather, he took over Guruji's work in terms of his sitars. So he was maintaining his sitars, keeping them in tune. And my dad also used to travel with Guruji extensively. So Guruji would bring him on and he would often introduce him as the person who's keeping him in tune.
Oh,
because 2002 onwards, he credited my dad, like if it wasn't for Sanjay Rikhiram, I wouldn't be here on stage, because he made him that sitar that he was playing, and which enabled him to perform and keep performing. So he was often so very grateful for him. And, he made him like this smaller sitar. It's called the studio sitar. And he added like a stand for Guruji. So he doesn't have to like put his body weight and all of that. all of this was happening. Then my dad comes back from the tour, and then we used to do these concerts for my grandfather's memory. And his name was Bishandas Rikhiramji, and we started doing concerts. It was in IHC where I had my first live performance. Like I had just picked up the sitar, started playing. You know, I played a little bit of Tilak Ka Mod, and after that, I played whatever I knew. And then my dad was teaching me at that time. You know, just a little bit. You know, put my hand on the sitar, and then somehow that from that concert, that video clip got to Guruji. And he used to love using his iPad. This is like an 89-year-old man on his iPad. He used to read the Bengali news and all of that on his iPad. So he saw that video, and then he calls my dad and he's like, Sanjay, is this your child you were telling me about? He was like, yes, Guruji. He's just started, playing the sitar. He's like, yeah, I saw, Rikhiram is his name, so I thought it's your child. He's like, oh, wonderful. Whenever I'm in Delhi, please bring him over. So we did just that. Then we showed up to Guruji's house, and there was like a whole puja set up there. And once we were there, Guruji was like, okay, take out your sitar and play for me a little bit. So I played that same composition, and I think I played Rageshri also. Then first of all, Guruji was saying that, what you played was good, but not quite right. And then he picked up his sitar and showed me Tilak Ka Mod, and I was just like mind blown. I was like, wow, instrument can sound like that. I was just mesmerized. This was the first time I heard Guruji like one-to-one, because we had listened to his music, but in person, so close, like how you're sitting to me, that's how I heard Guruji for the first time. I was like, wow, I was mesmerized. And after that, he was like, with your permission, he turned to my parents. This kid has a lot of potential, and I would love to be his guru and teach him.
Wow.
And I saw my parents' jaw just drop to the floor. Like God himself has come down and be like, can I teach your child? Because even though my dad was touring with him, he couldn't dare to ask him, Guruji, mere bacche ko sikhao. Never gonna happen, because Guru has to, at that position, like he has to accept you. And for him to, offer to be my guru was like amazing. And I was like, okay, because I didn't understand the gravity of that situation and what responsibility that holds. And he turned to me, he was like, bacche, like, I don't know how much life I have left, but whatever it is, whatever I have, please take it from me as soon as possible. And I was like, I'll try my best, Guruji. And then, my lesson started after that.
Wow. What a story.
Yeah, it's...
Really?
It's so vivid, and it's such a core memory that anyone asks me, like, what's your favorite childhood memory? That is it.
I would imagine so.
There's nothing I can even imagine can top that.
I feel like, for any artist, whoever is the greatest in that art form, if they come and tell you that they want to teach you, I don't think there can be a greater privilege and honor than that.
Absolutely not. And now that I think about it, like the responsibility I have, just being an ambassador for Indian classical music, but also being student of Ravi Shankar, which was the greatest cultural ambassador that India has seen. And on top of that, carrying my family's legacy of musical instrument making and promoting this art, I'm extremely honored that they chose me to be that person.
Yeah.
So it's heavy.
Do you have some Panditji stories? Just like some anecdote that comes to mind.
I have a few which I've shared also. But he was very good with wordplay. And I think I've sort of gotten my humor from him also, just using words as humor. So he used to say, ye kartab ki vidya hai. Kartab as in performing arts. He's like, kartab ki vidya hai, karoge tabhi milegi. So, you have to riyaz every day. Karna padega, kare bina nahi mil sakta. And so that was one. And he used to crack a lot of non-veg jokes, which used to put me in a very awkward position because I would understand them.
But you're a kid nonetheless.
But I'm a kid, I can't laugh because then he will know that I understand that. So I was just be like...
You pretended.
Yeah. I was like... I pretended like I didn't understand, but I understand. I was hilarious. And on the dinner table, he would. There was this one time we were just having dinner after the session, and he just held my hand because I haath idhar rakho, and then he was like, "Okay, count karo ta ka di mi ta ka di." He's like, "Okay, this is egun. Now try to fit double ka di mi tak di mi tak di mi tak di mi tak di 4 times tak di mi 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 tak di mi." And on the dinner table, he just taught me how to go 1, 2, and 4 times the speed. Like that. And I use that still today. So he was just like a powerhouse of knowledge that you could feel that, knowledge was just like oozing out of him. And he was always like, time is ticking, that you need to just take everything from me as soon as possible, because I don't know, I feel like, my end is coming soon. So there was that pressure on me also, and he would get angry at me also, ki, "Utha kyun nahi rahe ho, jaldi uthao." And I was trying my best. So he was a very strict teacher also, very particular. The moment he would pick up his sitar, he would completely different person. And very strict teacher, बहुत गालियाँ भी खाई हैं हमने. So it used to be mostly me and Parimal uncle, who was just like sort of like mitigating the situation. ये नहीं बेटा ऐसे बजाओ. So हमने बहुत गुरुजी से डांट भी खाई है, and the moment he would keep the sitar down, sweetest, funniest person on the planet. And yeah, I mean, these are some anecdotes that are very like so ingrained in my memory that I would never forget.
I'm sure he's very proud of you.
Yeah, I hope so.
I'm convinced he would be.
Because whenever I release something also, I was like, okay, I have to appeal to Guruji and also like a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Who's listening to this music. So that's how that's the mindset I was in when I was producing like Chanakya, Roslyn, and all of those songs. That I have to, keep my Guruji happy also, which is a lot of pressure. Because once you fuse Indian music, it's a very dangerous territory.
Yeah.
But I also have to appeal to the younger generation and just me, myself, the younger version of me. Like I want to impress the 13-year-old version of me. So that's what I think about when I'm like putting music out.
I think that's why you appeal to the masses also.
Yeah.
Because it's like pure classical, सबको समझ नहीं आता है, and I think उसकी appreciation बहुत है in a limited segment.
Correct.
As an art form. I don't think कि आप किसी को भी बिठा दोगे और उसको pure like राग भीमपला से सुनाओगे तो they'll be like wow. But उसी में आप थोड़ा सा कुछ डाल दोगे. I mean, all music technically is based off all rags only.
Yeah.
But it's just a different treatment of it. And I think that gets people interested then back into classical music somehow. And I think you've captured that sort of really well.
When I think of classical music is like people like how it sounds. So you're at a beach and you're standing on the sand and you are appreciating the water, how beautiful it looks like. So I feel like that's how like people view classical music, but like those who understand know how to take a deep dive and see the underwater sea life and what's happening.
Very well said.
So there are a few people who take the under dive, but on its whole, people just appreciate how it sounds.
Yeah,
that's very calming sound. But that's what we try to do with Sitar for mental health. We create that environment, and I also demonstrate like what I'm playing. Like if I'm playing a 7-beat cycle, which is a rupak, which is divided 3-2-2. So tin tin na din na din na tin tin na. So I ask people to count.
Yeah.
And so they can take that deep dive with us and how we are improvising, and it's sort of like a playground that we've made.
Yeah.
So there's this rag and this tal. Ab isme humne khelna hai, So we create that environment, and some people do start understanding it. And वो तिहाई पे ताली बजाने लगेंगे, तिहाई, when something is repeated thrice.
3 times.
So they look out for those things. So I feel like a lot of that's also like a small class on music appreciation, how to appreciate classical music, but also you would understand more deeply once you start learning the art. So I've also started teaching kids and also like people older than me. So most of my students are older than me actually, who are like Western classical musicians. I run a school in New York. So now they are now they are starting to understand. And now things have changed, and classes are also much more fun once we are on the same wavelength, right? Then we can improvise and all of that. So it's a long process, but no, I'll get to it eventually.
Of course you will.
Yeah.
Tell me something. As a brooding man in his 20s, have you ever been in love?
Yes. Yeah, many times.
Many times.
Pyar
hota kahin baar hai.
Yeah, I would say like since 18, like I have always been a person who wants to be in a relationship. So 18, I was in a relationship, and it has happened like 4 or 5 relationships so I've had. But also with love at such a young age, heartbreaks are also
common,
and that feeds your music. So it's a great
टूटे हुए दिल से संगीत निकलता है.
No, definitely. Music has been there for me for everything. I would say, whenever I feel bad, I just turn to music, and it's always there. People come and leave, but like music is just there. In my music room, if I go, it's there. So
is it fair to say music is first love?
Yeah, always.
Music is first love.
Always, yeah.
And second love will be whoever is in your life at that point in time.
Who can live peacefully with my main girl.
Yeah. What is your understanding of love? What is your definition of it?
I mean, love comes in a lot of shapes and forms. Obviously, I think we're talking about romantic love here, right? There has to be compatibility, but also compromise. So what I've learned is, people focus so much on compatibility and checking a lot of things that they also forget that love is also about compromise and letting go. Like, if 2 people are in love, they have to let go of something to make that thing happen. So that's something I've learned, because I have been a little particular about ye hona chahiye, but you can't. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect. So how can I expect my partner to be perfect? So love is a lot of things. Love is everything, I would say. It's a whole amalgamation of personalities, and I feel like everyone has a masculine and feminine side, and even if I'm in love with someone, they also have. So my masculine and feminine both has to fall in love with their masculine and feminine.
Correct.
And I think Osho was talking about that. I listened to a lot of Osho. So I was like, yeah, I feel that too, because I felt like my partners were a little more masculine than me in some ways, in some areas, which I enjoyed, And my feminine also, there's like that energy transfer also. So
it works.
Yeah, it is everything, it's a whole amalgamation of these 2 energies.
Speaking of love, and of course, abhi humne romantic love discuss kiya. One of the things that I really enjoyed was seeing your mom on stage in one of your shows. I think both of you have like a very cute sort of dynamic. She is adorable, by the way.
Yeah.
I met her once, and she's just such a sweetheart. What's your relationship with your mom like?
Oh, it's we're always thinking about what to do next. I turn to my mom for fashion advice, musical advice. Whenever I compose something new, I was like, Ma. I call
does
her
she
down.
approve of your fashion sense?
Yeah, she does. Why is it? There's something wrong?
No. I'm saying from like a mom's perspective.
Yeah.
Like Gen Z fashion.
She's always like, just dress appropriately. Like, I won't dress like this on a someone's funeral.
Of course.
Yeah, so my mom is like particular कि कहाँ जा रहे हैं वहाँ पे उस हिसाब से कपड़े पहनना, ठीक है. Aside from that, like I take her advice, most of the time, I try outfits on. I was like, "My अच्छा लग रहा है." Okay, thumbs up. Then I just leave. So aside from that, I turn to her for advice, and my mom has taught me this famous bhajan that's going viral also, Shiv Kailasho Ke Vasi. My nani and my mom, everyone in Chamba, like where my mom is from, used to sing this, and we spent a lot of time growing up in Chamba. And I credit all the credit goes to her, because she taught me the song. Otherwise, I wouldn't have
She sung this with you on stage also,
she actually did at City Fort.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they didn't record that. And that's why I really wanted to post that.
She sang it so well though.
Yeah. And we didn't barely rehearsed. We were like backstage. I was like, okay, Mama, I'll sing one line, you sing one line, and we both together sing, and we'll just figure it out. And it was a very impromptu thing. Wasn't perfect. Never is. But it was memorable.
It was amazing.
There are some phone videos of that.
Yeah.
But
I wish maine li hoti, because witnessing it in person was amazing.
You had a very, very good seat, right?
Yeah.
So,
would you say she's your friend?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. She's a close friend.
No, definitely. Papa also, like, I would share like something about my dad that even like before COVID, I didn't know who my dad was, like, in terms of like as a person. Growing up in Delhi, he was so engrossed in his work. He's a workaholic. He loves working. And he would be at the store, at the factory. And, by the time he would come back home, we were asleep for school. We have to catch the 7:10 bus in the morning. So the only time we saw him was on Sundays. And that too, he was cleaning the house. He's like, ye pheko, wo pheko, ye pheko. So I really didn't connect with my dad for that. It was just like, okay, that's my dad. But it was during COVID because it was me and him logged in 2020 and 2021. And my mom and my brother were here. So that's where we were like, okay. And we would cook together. We would make instruments together. You
discovered each other.
Yeah. And we would cook together, make instruments, watch one movie a day, every day without fail. And then I would, play for him. And we used to cook like lunch and dinner both together. And then we used to go on walks around the block. So that's why I really got to know my dad. And I was like, okay, yeah, he's a pretty cool dude.
Yeah.
It's like nice to know you.
It's so funny. I've heard most men have this one stage where they kind of realize that their dad is a cool guy.
Yeah, he's absolutely. Once you know them, and that's your father. We are supposed to know them, but like also there's this just like a generational thing that he wasn't also not like emotionally close to his father. That if you ask me like when was the last time you hugged your dad, I would have been able to tell you before COVID. But I know, like, I just hugged him before coming here.
Yeah.
So
that's so amazing.
It takes time, and I think we have to break that cycle.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you did. I think it's great to have a great relationship with your parents, and I think हमारे ऊपर से generation के जो parents थे, they also tried hard because unka relationship with their parents was very like, respect wala.
Yeah, it was very patriarchal, no?
So very patriarchal.
Very like stiff and head of the household, not emotional, because everyone depends on them.
Yeah.
So, but now I think things are changing.
Yeah. Like my relationship with my dad is also like supremely relaxed. Like I can tell him anything and it's very friendly and same with my mom. Like I think just the freedom to be able to express to your parents who you are and how you feel is a huge privilege.
Yeah.
And I hope everyone can experience that at some point in time.
Exactly. And I feel like your parents are super chill. And I think my parents are on the road to become chill. So I think we'll get there soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes time, but they'll come around, I guess.
Abhi, recently I saw that you were in Nepal.
Yes.
And you were playing at one of my favorite temples. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, every time you accomplish something, I've seen you say it and I've seen you, of course, like write about it that, Mahadev ki kripa,
Yeah.
What is your relationship with Mahadev like? Like, why do you feel so connected to Mahadev?
There were a few instances in my life that, just pointed me in the direction. Like my mom follows Guruji. So he is also considered a avatar of Shiv.
Correct.
So Shivji has been there, but I've just felt like very protected by him recently, and especially and this was all. I feel like this was all part of his plan because I don't know why I wanted to make the Tandavam in college. I don't know. I memorized it. I went to this Pandit ji in Queens.
Yeah.
I learned how to pronounce each and every word. And I just felt so powerful when I used to sing it that it just felt like some divine calling. And I made it in 2019 and then released it a couple of years later, and I was in college. And I have been making songs about Shiva. Even Shiv Kailasho also is like a very old composition. I think 2016 is when I made it. I recorded it, but never released it because I'm never happy with like my work unless it's like finished. So I don't know. I just felt like a divine calling, and now that I think it was like all part of his plan. Now he's just like pulling me in different places and just showing up in my life in different forms. After I released Shiv Kailash, things just blew out of proportion, and there's so much abundance that I have received. And then I was called to Pashupatinath, and that plan was also like going on for 2 years, and it finally happened because he wanted to happen.
Yeah.
I went there, I played for the Aarti, I went to places that, people don't have access to.
Yeah.
And he let me in like that. So I'm very grateful for that. Also, what happened? I went to his temple and I had a fight with my parents, some little conflict. And my father, he wasn't planning on coming to Nepal with me. But my Nani had an intuition that you should go. It's his first show. You should go. And Nani is living with us right now. So, and then I was leaving for the airport, and that's when they're booking the flight for the next whatever flight to Kathmandu.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, come, whatever. Because we were in a fight. So, and then when I went to Pashupatinath, I came back. And it never happens to me. My sitar was on the sofa, and there was this outfit that I was trying to pick up. I picked up the outfit. The sitar was sort of like resting on the outfit, and I held the sitar like this. I pulled the outfit from under the sitar, and the sitar just slipped from my hands. And never happened to me. I've never broken my sitar. Thank God, Mahadev. Like, this is the only time it happens. But I was like speechless. I was like, wow, I'm supposed to rehearse right now, and my sitar is broken. I have a show to play. And then I was literally, not literally, but I was about to cry, and I'm calling my dad. My voice is shaking. I was, Papa, sitar told me. And then I was like, okay, I'm coming. Then he came to my room, and he super glued it, and he did whatever he could.
Worked his magic,
and the sitar was just like how it was before. I mean, obviously there are cracks on there, and I posted a photo of it also. But I feel like it was just like Mahadev trying to tell me that you are nothing without your parents. Those who have brought you here, treat them with respect and dignity, and your father is a master craftsman, so respect him like that. So immediately humbled. Like, Papa.
But ये recognize करने के लिए भी awareness भी चाहिए होती है, थोड़ी like growth, एक mindset भी चाहिए होता है. I don't think everyone would see this as a sign, but I'm glad you did.
Yeah, definitely humbled me from 100 to 0.
तो fight sort हो गई फिर?
हाँ, okay.
अब सब sorted है.
मेरे को नहीं लड़ना. और broken सितार नहीं चाहिए मेरे को.
नहीं चाहिए. अच्छा, एक मुझे बात बताओ.
जी.
हमारा ये एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन होता है
जी.
जो हम सब गेस्ट से पूछते हैं.
हाँ जी.
कि जितने भी सेलिब्रिटीज और फेमस लोग होते हैं उनके पास टाइम की हमेशा कमी होती है. तो हाउ डू यू, ऋषभ, unwind after hours? How do you relax?
So I am not afraid to admit that whenever I'm touring and whenever I'm back home in New York, I go through some sort of depression. Like, there is like, this like just carpet just like rolled under you. So there's some like gloomy days where I'm just like, just with myself and my thoughts. I would go to therapy. I would try to make myself feel better, do my music. And then once I'm like out of that depression phase, then I would like to take a vacation, like a nice, like a chill spot. After the tour, we went to this beautiful place called Devprayag, where there's a Sangam Ghat where Alaknanda and Bhagirathi meet and they form Ganga. I love that spot so much. That's like therapeutic. I love going there. And so I have like these small spots where I go and just like unwind. So yeah, and just like my house in New York is also very chill. I like being alone and just like unwinding, doing my music. Teaching my students is also like a very therapeutic and one thing I really enjoy. With the students that I have been teaching and who are in the same wavelength. So I really enjoy teaching them. So that's how I unwind.
Amazing. As we come to the close, but I'm not upset because I will see you after. So the conversation will not end.
Correct.
But I cannot. It would be injustice to let you go without playing something.
Oh yeah.
Because how could I let that happen?
Yeah.
So we're gonna give you a sitar, and we would love for you to play anything that you want as a closing for our audience.
Let's do it. So I'm gonna play a song of mine, which is called Shankara. There's lyrics to this song also. I'll sing a couple of lines, excuse my voice. This one's again dedicated to Mahadev. And there's this rag called Shankara by the same name, and that's what the song has been composed in. So, presenting Shankara. It goes like Adi Shankara Sasi Sekhara Adi Shankara Sasi Sekhara Ved Vedanta Shri Mahadeva Ved Vedanta Shri Mahadeva.
Too good.
Har Har Mahadev.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this and for a mini private concert. And
you can pay me now.
But look forward to seeing you super soon. And thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's great whatever you're doing. I love your page. And whenever you call me next, I'm here.
Bye. See you.
Bye.
Phones on silent. दरवाजा बंद है. All okay?
Fix your hair यहाँ पे. Yeah.
ठीक है. Good to go?
All good to go.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
This one hair that's coming on your cheek.
You know, you're Vipin's favorite person because he's always after my one strand that's out of place. So you made his job easy.
Of course.
Okay, done. Rolling?